Hello everyone, Mr. Brian here, and it's time for another Tales and Tales Science with Mr. Brian activity. Now, today what you should have received in the mail is a little sandwich bag, and inside your sandwich bag, when we open this up, you should find that you have an instrument here. This is what we call a pipette. See, it has a bulb or bulbous end here, and it comes down to a point. These come in a variety of different sizes, different materials. They could be really big and used for basting when someone is cooking, or they can be like an eyedropper, maybe used to help give some eye drops or something. But we're going to use this to help us with our science activity for today. Now, the other thing that you'll find inside your bag is a little plastic dinosaur. Now, you can see mine here is a little green Stegosaurus, and Stegosaurus happens to be one of my favorite dinosaurs. And so it'll be interesting to see what dinosaur that you get. We have a variety of types and a variety of different colors, so it will be fun to see what you have in yours. Now, the rest of the materials that we're going to need for today's experiment will be something that you will have to provide from home. What we're going to do is we're going to be doing, paleontologists or scientists that, study ancient fossils of plants and animals. They usually, when they go to dig out whatever it is that they're looking for, that could be called an excavation. Now, if it happens to be in ice, then that would be considered an ice-cavation, and that is going to be what we're going to be doing today. So, first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to encase our little dinosaur in ice. Now, you may be saying, how are we going to do that? Well, if you look around the house, hopefully you may find some sort of small little cup. This is a little 3-ounce paper bathroom cup, or you may want to use plastic. I will say that the paper ones, when we go to take the cup off after it is frozen, will come off a little bit easier than the plastic, but the plastic does not do one thing that I'll show you that the paper does once the water has frozen. Now, it doesn't have to be this size. I went with this size because it fits the size of the dinosaur the closest. It can be a little bit larger. I have a little 5-ounce paper cup here, and so this may be something that if you have this to use, that will be fine, but what I'm going to use is I'm going to use one of my little cups here, and I'll go with the paper one. Now, when we find fossils in the ground or in ice, they can be in any sort of direction you want. So you don't have to, especially if you don't think that it will fit, you don't have to put your dinosaur just, and squeeze it flat into the cup. You can see like this one that's a little upside down with the nose toward the top. If you want to, you would have it to where the nose is at the bottom and the tail is at the top. Well, however you put it in your cup, that is up to you. There's not a right or wrong way to do this. I'm going to put mine to where it's facing it, the head is toward the cup. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I have a cup here with some water. Now, you can use water from the sink or anything like this. I just have this here so that I can demonstrate this to you. And since I'm going to be pouring, I also have a paper towel handy in case that I spill. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the water into the cup, and I'm going to pour it until it covers up my dinosaur. Now, it doesn't have to completely cover the dinosaur. If you want to leave a little part of it out, that's fine. I completely covered mine in. It kind of changed its direction here. You'll see that I didn't fill the cup all the way directly up to the top. In fact, I'm going to pour out just a little bit of the water to make it a little bit less, because one thing that you'll see is when we put this in the freezer, what happens to water when it freezes? It expands and it grows. Now, I will say that when you go to put this in your freezer, especially if you use the paper cup, is you want to make sure that you have some sort of paper towel or something underneath it, because the ice will expand in some spots on the bottom, kind of form a little bit of an ice dome underneath the bottom part of it, and it could tip it over. And this will be a good way to keep it from sticking. That is something you won't run into as much with the plastic cup, but again, this is a little bit harder to take off than if we worked with this one. So it's time to put this in the freezer. Once you've put it in the freezer, ideally leave it for about 24 hours. You know, it's a small amount. It would probably be done in just a couple of hours, but it's nice to give it 24 hours to fully freeze through. Now this is something, do not just keep opening up the door and checking on it, kind of like if you're trying to make a popsicle or something like that, because that can just, you know, add more time and cause it to take longer in order for our little ice thing, our little water here around the dinosaur to freeze. So now I'm going to stick this here in the freezer, and I'll get back with you here in just a minute. Okay everyone, I'm here in our back little kitchen that we have at the library. You can see that I'm at our freezer. I'm going to open it up so we can freeze our little dinosaur. I'm remembering, since I used the paper cup, to put down a little paper towel. That way it won't freeze and stick to the surface to the freezer. Now I've got this. I will put this down here and close the freezer door, and I'm going to leave this. And remember, it should be frozen in, you know, like 1 or 2 hours, you know, maximum of 4, but just to be on the safe side, we're going to come back and check this tomorrow. So we're going to wait 24 hours, then we'll come back and we'll see how it turned out. Okay everyone, hello. It's been 24 hours, so we're going to go in and we're going to check and see how well our dinosaur is frozen. You can see right here I've got it. It's nice and hard. On the bottom, we'll more closely examine this over here at my other area. I'm going to go ahead and grab also my little piece of paper towel that I had there. That will come in handy of what we're getting ready to do next. So let's go and ice-cavate our dinosaur. Alright everyone, here we are with our little frozen dinosaur, and as you can see here, mine has its head poking out of the top of the ice. Then also, like I was talking about, here on the bottom of the cup, you can see how it's domed over, and that is from when the water froze and turned into ice, it expanded, and you will find that with the paper cups. Not so much again with the plastic cups, but like I said, these are a little harder to remove when we want to get this out. Now, what we're going to be using to get this out is, well, the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to have a bowl. Now I happen to have a little styrofoam bowl here, but whatever bowl that you have will work. Now you want to make sure that this bowl is fairly deep. You don't want a really shallow bowl, or you'll have to keep dumping out the water that's going to be in the bowl, and you'll see what I mean by that here in just a minute. So once I have my bowl down here, I'm going to set my paper towel down, and make sure you have, you know, some more paper towels handy here as we go through and do this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to peel off my cup, and I'm going to set my dinosaur down here in the bowl. Now you may have, like what I have here, you'll see that my dinosaur is all here on one side. So if I focus my efforts on this side, it should go a lot faster than if I was going to do it on the other side. And don't worry if the bottom doesn't come off, that's fine. As we add hot water to this, that will all dissolve. So I'm going to set mine down here on the side with my dinosaur facing up. Now I mentioned hot water. Please be very careful with hot water. Have your parents or grandparents or guardians have some hot water there with you. What I have here is just a plastic cup with some super warm from the tap water, just from the faucet. You don't really need anything too much hotter from this. From what we're using, it's a small little thing. And what we're going to be using to do this step by step. Now this may seem a little tedious, but this is exactly how the paleontologists do this to make sure that they don't accidentally break or damage any of the fossils that they could be finding. And so what we'll do with the pipette, and the way that this thing works, the bulbous part down here at the bottom, you squeeze that down. That pushes all the air out of the stem of our pipette. You put this in down the water, and then what you've done, you've created a vacuum here. And when you put it down into a liquid, when you let go of our little bulb end here, the water will go up into the pipette, and then it's ready for you to direct it toward wherever you want, and then you can squeeze the bulb and then it will melt the ice. So what I'll do is I'll squeeze this, put it down in my water, then I'll have it, and you can see it's come up here. Mine's about halfway. Then from that, what I'll do is I'm going to let it, and I'll squeeze it, and I'll drop it on the ice, and I'll move it back and forth. And what I'm going to do, so you can see this a little bit better, is I'm going to move the camera a little bit closer so you can get a better look at what is actually happening. Okay, so here you can see this is going to be the area that I'm focusing on right here. So as I go and I squeeze to drop my water in, I'm going to be working right on the area where we see that the dinosaur is, and you'll do the same thing as you're doing that. And it's just a simple process of going through and repeating this step until the dinosaur is to a point where either you can pull it out and break it out of the rest of the ice. But again, the paleontologists would say that you would risk breaking a piece of your fossil or bone. So we're going to act like this is a fragile thing, and we're going to work until we get this completely taken out of the ice. Okay, now as you guys have probably noticed, I've sped up the video to speed up the process of what we've been doing here. You can see that my dinosaur is pretty well now out of the covering for the top of the ice, so I could try and see if I was going to be able to pull this out, but I'm going to turn mine around. You can also see that my bowl is starting to get a little full of water, so we want to be sure that we keep our eye on this. Obviously, the hotter that your water is, the faster this process will go. And obviously too, with the paleontologists, when they work to do this, they try not to have, when they're working on getting something out of the ice, they are very mindful of what the water's temperature is, to just because, like what we were talking about as far as things going to be broken, if you go too fast and just try to yank things out, temperature can also cause things to fracture as well. And so I will speed this up a little bit more here to where we can see that it has been fully ice-cavated out of this. And what I probably will do here in a few minutes, if my bowl gets too terribly full, is I will go ahead and dump out that water to add some more. But looking at mine here, I think that I just have one back leg that I need to really get out. So hopefully you guys are having a lot of success with this too. And let's finish up the process now. Okay, so as you guys have seen, my dinosaur is just falling out of what I had left of the ice. Now this is very similar to what can happen sometimes as our paleontologists work. Now, like I said, I know this can be a very tedious and time-consuming process, but it is scientifically accurate as to what the real scientists do as they attempt to do this kind of stuff. So now that we have our dinosaur fully excavated, fully taken out. We can examine it, we can grab our paper towels, we can dry it off. I look forward to seeing what you guys have as far as what your dinosaurs happen to be and what they look like. Please use this hashtag that I've put here on the screen to tag us so that we'll be able to see what your dinosaurs are and what your process has been as you try to get yours out of your ice. And be on the lookout for more of our Tails and Tales science activities and our other science activities that we'll have this summer. Please remember to keep reading, and I'll see you guys in the next video.